right, now we have the Consew model 205RB-1. Now this is a top and bottom feed, or upper and lower feed. So I'm going to discuss how that works. Here we have the feed dog, and the feed dog comes around, it drops, and then it comes to the front, and then it feeds back. We call this a drop feed. So you have a lower feed here that feeds the material. In addition, we'll set the press foot down. If you watch, the needle's going to go down along with the center foot, and the outside foot is going to lift and travel with the feed dog forward, and then it's going to travel back with the feed dog. So you have an upper feed using the outside foot instead of the inside foot with a typical walking foot machine. Now the advantage of this is that you're able to, the machine feeds the material with the needle in an up position instead of when the needle's in a down position with a typical walking foot machine. So if you watch, the outside foot is feeding, the bottom is feeding, and the needle's in an up position. That's completely opposite on a triple feed machine or walking foot. So this is a top and bottom feed, or also called an upper and lower feed. It's a Federal Stitch number 301 lock stitch, and it's designed for medium to heavy duty sewing. Thread size can range from a Tex 46 up to a 207, and a little beyond that if you do some slight modifications. The needle system is a 135x17 or an x16 with a leather point, and it ranges from average around 16 to a size 24. Typically in upholstery we're using around a 22. Consew model 205RB-1, the features are that we have a reverse lever conveniently placed over here. You got a side load bobbin that's really easy to get to. You just reach underneath and get your bobbin with your thumb here. And there's your bobbin. So this is an M-sized bobbin, pre-wound. And I'll put it back in just like I got it. Put it back in. Okay, and it's adjustable stitch length right here with the locking device, and we can go on out to about 3.2 stitches per inch and all the way down to a very small tight stitch. And the locking device helps it so that it doesn't change stitch lengths in high speed. You have a tension release that actually releases your top tension when you lift your presser foot. So as you can see, the disc here moves when I lift the presser foot. And that's real handy when you got material under and you just want to be able to pull it out. It pulls out really easy with the tension release. Underneath, we're going to point out some things that most people never pay much attention to, but the 205 has a very unique oiling system. There's a pump here that generates a suction that pumps all the way up here and splashes the whole top area, and it makes it into a mist, and it actually settles in the upper area here where your needle bar and your presser foot is. And we have a return tube that goes all the way up to the top here, and when the main bottom shaft turns, it creates a suction that actually brings the excess oil back from up there, so you don't have that spraying on your fabric. We have an adjustment here that allows you to put more oil to your hook. That's a real critical part. So you can adjust. If you see you're getting a little too much here, you might want to turn the valve. But that's really the things to point out, other than there's a gear drive here. So the top and bottom shafts are connected with gear drive. They're all metal gears, no plastics. And there's a little metal magnet here. It's in the bottom, and that collects any kind of residue that may get into your oil pan. It's self-contained, and it rips back down. When you fill it up, you fill it up halfway between the high and the low, and basically it's good to go. The standard workspace is just over around 10.5 inches in workspace. Very unique the way this is actually at an angle here. Most machines are typically straight. This gives you a little more extra workspace to work here. It's already pre-drilled here for attachments. If you have binders or folders, they're already tapped and ready to go to be able to put stuff in. And the presser foot, we got a super high lift on this, 16 millimeters. You know, I can just about put my finger under this machine. It's a pretty hefty lift on that. Speed on the machine, we govern this one around 2,000 because most people run a lot of heavy things on it. It all depends on what kind of material you're sewing with and what type of thread that you're using. So getting started with the 205RB-1, we're going to show you how to thread it. First of all, I'm going to tilt the machine back to show you the bobbin underneath. We can reach and grab this bobbin with our thumb and it just pulls straight on out. Now change the bobbin, we'll pull the bobbin out. Have the bobbin case, pull the thread out. I've got a fresh one right here. It's all wound up, so I'm going to put the fresh one in. You see we have a little groove in it right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in coming off of the bobbin, going cross grain into this groove. All right, so we'll push this in, come on around and catch this, and make sure it goes all the way past it, past this little divot here, so that it captures the tension complete. Now we're going to want a medium, a little maybe sometimes a little heavier depending on what we're doing, pull on this. So a pretty good pull. If we want to tighten that up, there's a screw located right here that tightens this little spring up. Now you can remove it by taking this screw off. So I'm gonna put a little more drag on this. Just turn it just a little bit at a time and feel it, just like I'm holding it right here. And here we go. Now to put it back in, make sure that you take your thumbnail and get it started, get your whole thumb in there as best you can. Because what we want to end up is your thumb to touch the end of this post right here. So take the top thread and bring it over and hold it with your forefinger so that the bottom thread is not going to get caught underneath this latch like that. That's a no-no. So we're going to get this started in here. We're going to push it right in and boom, it's already in. Now I'm going to be able to access this way, and so you kind of want to maybe tilt the machine back, get started this way so you catch that latch, you know where you're at, and then you can start doing it blindfold or underneath. So I've got that kind of preset, exactly where I want it. The rest of the tension is really up top. So now we're going to set this down, and we're going to show you how to thread this. If the machine is not threaded correctly, it's just not going to sew. So let's pull the thread out. We'll just pull it on out. Now let's start from the beginning. Make sure that when you have your spools set up, that your spools are lined up directly under here. And when they come off, I typically like to do a little S-turn through these guides. And what that does is it helps take a little bit of the body or the memory out of the thread. So this is a little memory of coming off the spool. So by putting it through here as an S, it helps take that out. We'll do it again right here so you can see how that works. We go right through here and make a little S turn and come up through this little pre-tensioner and back down. And it doesn't really add a lot of tension at all, it's just a little bit. But what it does do is it takes that memory out. So come on down and we're going to hold this tight here, pushing it into the tension. Now if you lift your presser foot, it releases your tension. But let's leave the tension in there, push it into the tension, go all the way around it and catch your check spring. And then we'll go underneath this lower latch through a guide here, click in, and then your take-up lever up here. Straight down through the next one. Pop there, here. Let's just lower this down so we can see the needle bar thread guide, which is our last one. Sometimes you might forget to put that one in. So now that we get this one in, And let's just lift the presser foot up, lift the needle up, and we're gonna thread that needle from left to right, and make sure it doesn't do what it just did, sneak around the bottom and make another loop. So that's how we want the thread to be. Okay, now we're going to start sewing on it. And what we want to do is get our fabric under here. There's a couple ways to start. I basically tell people a lot of times is just hold your top thread taut, or you can actually take your top thread and get your presser foot to hold it back here. It just needs to temporarily hold it until you make a couple good stitches, and it won't put it in a bind. So once you get it started, you'll have your top thread back here. We're going to go ahead and cut that out. And now we're just sewing right along. And get this thread out of the way. Now we can adjust our stitch length here by pushing the button in. We can change it to a long stitch. Bring it back down to around 5 stitches per inch. And, so we got it set at about a 5 stitches per inch. Tension wise, if the knot shows on the top or if it shows on the bottom, I'll tell you how to do that. If the knot shows up here, we're going to loosen this top tension. If the knot shows on the bottom, we're going to tighten this top tension. So we want the knot to fall right in between the layers of the fabric. So the thicker the fabric, you may at some point have to tighten it or loosen if it's thinner material. So let's give it a run. So this is your typical 2-layer of denim or leather. So we're going to take this and fold this over and get us into 4 layers. 4 layers here. Now we're going to go to 8 layers. Now the thicker you get, you want to control your speed a little bit better because the needle gets really hot. There's 8 layers. We're going to double up some more. Here's another 2 layers. We can get started on the 2 layers. Now we're up to 10 layers. There's 12 layers. I think you're getting the point now. It's a pretty hefty machine. It'll sew pretty thick. And then when we're done sewing really thick material, we're going to go back to thin material. So here we go. All this thickness here to 1 layer. And the machine's really not designed for lightweight material. But let's just give a little bit of lightweight material. The tensions are certainly not set right, but I want you to see this is a piece of shirt material, so we can just come on that and sew it as well. That's a super long stitch, and we're running nylon thread, so we're going to get a little puckering on that. So there need to be some adjustment to this, but you can see really this is a heavy-duty machine designed for a little more heavy, lightweight material. You're going to have to change your top thread to a lighter thread. Let's just go 1 more layer while we're thinking about it. That's your Consew model 205RB-1.